State diagrams. A state diagram shows the behavior of classes in response to external stimuli. Specifically, a state diagram describes the behavior of a single object in response to a series of events in a system. Different parts of the state diagram are given. In the upper left hand, we see a simple state or a state with internal activities. These are the primary focuses on your state diagram. Below them, you will see the transition arrow. This is used to transition from one state to another, or having an action performed. In the middle, we have a final state and initial state. The initial state is where you would begin your state diagram, and the final state would be where it would end. Finally, we have an example of a fork and a join. In the fork, the transition splits into two alternate states, whereas in the join, we have two alternate states that will join and progress into one. Examples. This is one of the first examples that I found when researching. It's a state diagram of a door. Now, unlike the parts described earlier, this does not have a final state. It is simply the status of a door that is either open or closed, with no in between. So if we look at the beginning, the initial state is open. Then, when you open the door, when you close the door, it becomes closed. So the closing action is the transition from open to close. And, as you might have guessed, when you open it and open that door, the transition for that would be opening, to the point where it becomes a new state of opened. I like this example because it's very simple, but also shows how many different possible ways we can use a state diagram. In this example, we can notice starting from S0, and then we can transition into S1 or S2. At the very top, we have a transition that goes from S1 and back into S1. In the state transition, some transitions end up back in the same location, whereas the possibilities are 3 from the S1 position. We could transition into S2, or from S0 to S1, and S1 into itself. In coding, we can see where a if-then statement would be relevant to this. State versus flow. For a lot of aspects, it can be easy to see how a flowchart might look like a state diagram. In example A, which is a state diagram, it appears to be going from S1 to S3. Much like in example B, the flowchart goes from do X, do W, to an end state. A flowchart illustrates processes that are executed in a system that change the state of objects. A state diagram shows the actual changes in the state, not the process or commands that create those changes. So, in a simpler term, the flowchart has task 1, task 2, task 3, where the state diagram, we translate from state 1 to state 2 to state 3, or another further example, S1 could be recognized as ice, and the transition is it starts to melt and becomes water. The next transition is it's continually heated up and it turns to vapor. So it would transition between 3 different states of matter. Whereas in the flowchart, it would be ice, still ice, or water, vapor. Thank you. I hope this has been helpful for you.